Welcome to another episode of I Start First podcast, ladies. I know that so many times all of us are not inspired and we lose our drive in business. It just happens. So I'm very excited to bring on this episode today Natasha Mitchell, founder and CEO of Inspire and Drive, how coincidental, who is going to share with you how you can take time, gain it back in small steps, how you can change some major things in your life by doing that. And most importantly, we're going to talk about simple business blueprint to change all the strategy behind what you're doing in your business and in life. Stay tuned. Hi, loves. Welcome to I Start First podcast, the show for boss babes who start ideas, businesses, dreams, and lifestyle. I'm your host, Alenka Cullinan, founder of I Start First, speaker, author, and business coach, aka Queen of Pushing Boss Babes Off the Ledge. On this show, I chat with epic humans who are guaranteed to up-level your business and mindset. Are you ready to sparkle up? Let's go. Hi, ladies. So excited for this episode of I Start First podcast. We are all sometimes, kind of working in our business, and we get so caught up in the frame that we don't even see a picture anymore. So I'm very excited today to have on this podcast a woman who knows all about this. She literally went from doing this for multi-million-dollar corporations to now doing it with entrepreneurs, creatives, startups. So I'm very excited to have with us coach and business strategist Natasha Mitchell. Hi, Natasha.
Hi, Alenka. Thanks so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, same. Well, tell them a little bit of your story, because it's a pretty big jump that you did, being in one very, very large arena on a very large scale and now doing it sort of completely on a very pinpointed version.
Yeah, for sure. So like a lot of entrepreneurs, I come from a corporate background. I worked internationally with big companies like IBM, PwC, KPMG, all the big consulting firms, and some of the big investment banks. That was really where my world was. And my specialty in that world was change management and training and development, but specifically when the companies were doing big, large technology transformations. So they're big, intense projects. There's a lot of people involved. They're always extremely complicated, and there's a lot going on with them. But what I enjoyed most about all of that was really helping an end user being able to change what they were doing and to be able to use a new technology or system to their best advantage. So needless to say, I built a lot of skill set during that time. I mean, there's people, there's content development, there's technology, there's project management, all of those skills. And there came a point where I decided I'd had enough of the $1 million project pressure and working in the corporate space. Mm-hmm. So I really, about 3 years ago, I decided to step out of that world. And some people was like, wow, that must have been like a great paycheck. And, a senior, why would you walk away from that? And really it was about having more fun and freedom and flexibility in my life. The money wasn't such a driver for me anymore, although in business it's important, but I really needed to be more creative and feel like I was making a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, and I can only imagine, like you said, the pressure that comes with being at that high level. And a lot of times I feel like when it's so many dimensions in the corporate arena, you kind of miss that touch, right? Like that one-on-one touch that you get to experience with entrepreneurs. So who are your clients now? Like, who are your favorite clients to work with?
Yeah, so I did a complete 360 and went from the very, technical corporate banking type of industries, and my background is accounting. Now I work with creative entrepreneurs. So now I work with people who are photographers, videographers, event planners, designers, I work with people who are creating interesting products like intention cards. I have clients that are online art gallery owners. So it's really, it feeds my soul on the creative side, working with people like that. And I think my skills in a very kind of logical, linear background really helps my it's a perfect complement to my creative clients.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I was going to say definitely, because a lot of times as creatives, we have this big visions and we always want to see the, 30,000 foot view. And I'm sure you do a great job bringing it down to bite-sized pieces and build it into what strategy really should look like. And execution is, what I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. So what do you think some of the top kind of like 3 either misconceptions or struggles that you see with your clients when they execute that blueprint?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is that a lot of creative people think that they're not good at business. Or they say, I don't have any business background. I don't know how to run a business. And I don't believe that's true. I think inherently people who are entrepreneurs have a good sense of the elements that they need to run a business. So the number one thing I'm trying to encourage my clients is like, you do know how to run your business, and, I'm just going to help you put some structure around that. Yeah. So my S.I.M.P.L.E business method is really breaking business down just into 3 main parts: self, business, or team. And when you can look at business like really simply through that lens, people have a level of confidence like, oh, okay, I can run a business. Obviously, there's a bit more to that. So that's the first thing. The second thing I see in terms of people implementing a business idea is they get caught up in the should. I should build a business this way. This is what a business should look like. If I'm not doing all of those things, then I'm not running a business well. And so how I try and help people avoid that is I start by looking at what their dream life is and what they love doing. And then we build a business model based on that. So I feel like a lot of people have gone the other way around. They built this big business, I say creating a business monster. They've created this big business monster. They're not passionate about it. They don't enjoy it. And we don't want that. So that's the second thing. Start with your dream life. And the third thing, and this is specifically what my S.I.M.P.L.E business method is about. I've just talked about how I came from a very linear and very highly structured corporate background. And what I see in the entrepreneurial world is that really tight linear structure, it doesn't allow people enough flexibility to be able to pivot quickly. And I think as entrepreneurs, we need to be able to pivot really quickly. So the third thing I will look at with a client is to not have to go in a very linear order of step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. We might look at their picture and say, there's 5 things you need to concentrate on your business. And we can do those steps in any order, because fixing any one part of that will have a beneficial effect to the other part. So in part of that self, business, and team, we'll look at all of the things they need and we'll say, okay, we know there's components of each of that. Let's kind of get your a la carte menu, and we'll work on the things that are relevant to your stage of business and that are going to move the needle most quickly for you. And it doesn't really matter what order you do those things in.
Yeah.
And for creative people, that helps them get structure without feeling like stifled and stuck in a box.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. It's having the model, but still having the flexibility. And I think just being in a business, you realize how quickly and often you have to pivot sometimes, right? Like you and I are recording this podcast in the time when nobody expected it to be this way. And we all learn in the digital world, and we're all changing and, adapting as quickly as we can. So yeah, I think in business, it's very, very important. And, you did, your strength, you would probably agree, is sort of having that strategy and giving them those, kind of direct and simple ways, because I think a lot of times people get so overwhelmed. They just imagine everything at such a grand scale and they get overwhelmed. And I just always say, that leads to paralysis, that essentially leads to fear, where you get stuck and you're not moving. So how would you say you help your clients get unstuck?
Yeah. So I have an inherently natural talent of being able to take 20 different ideas, find the connections between those ideas, and then saying, you know what, you've told me 20 things. There's a common, there's three different, there's three similar themes in that. One is about, oh, you love doing podcasting, or one is you love designing, and one is I don't know, like investing in real estate. I'm able to help really bucket those 20 ideas into a very distilled list, let's say that. And it's interesting because a lot of my clients I work with one-on-one, so I have the luxury of being able to do things very customized with my clients. But I think I think in general for anyone, and you've touched on that, is taking those 20 ideas and kind of putting them in a priority list. I can do that for someone, or you can do it yourself. Putting it in a priority list and literally saying, if I could only do one of these items on the list, what would be the first thing I go to?
Yeah.
And just starting there, right?
Yeah.
Just putting everything else on hold, not throwing it away, just on hold, but picking one thing. And once you've tackled that one thing, then finding the second major priority on your list. And that's, I think, an easier way for people to say, my ideas are acknowledged. I've written them down. I know I can't do 20 things at once. What would be the number one thing that I want to do? And tying it back to that dream life, Alenka. So saying, what's the number one thing that gets me closer to that dream life? Not what's the number one thing I think I should be doing on that list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love that. It's so true. Ladies, if you're listening, I would say bookmark this part, take notes, because it's so true. One, we get into this overwhelm stage, but two, it's like you said, we oftentimes lose the very reason we started this business, or, this, whatever we're doing. We lose the very reason we started it. And so we get so caught up in just going through the motions and just doing the next thing and I love that you said, it's doing that one thing, because I always say to my clients, I say, you can do anything, but not everything, because it's just impossible. We all have 24 hours in a day, and all you do is just get more and more stuck, because you essentially get paralyzed from all the stress and, all the things that you do. And if so would you say most of your businesses are sort of start and scale, or are they like mid-size? Like, where's your sweet spot?
Yeah, my specialty area is really when people are around that 6-figure mark and moving up. Because what I see with entrepreneurs typically is that's the point where you're usually having more work than you can handle by yourself. Right? It's a numerical value of a physical state, which is to be making $100,000. You normally have a significant amount of clients or work going on. So that's really my sweet spot. And what I find with people, who are kind of at that leveling up stage, is they've reached capacity. If they don't have a strategy or structure, it makes it much harder then to scale up. So they've reached capacity just kind of winging it. But to scale up, that's where you need to do things like automation and delegation, perhaps bring on a team member. And if you don't have a clear strategy to be able to articulate that to someone else, or you don't have processes or systems, it's very hard to take work off your own plate. So that's sort of the challenge that I see with people at that sort of scaling stage. And it might be, for some people, that might be $50,000. They're already hitting that wall. For some people, it might be 100,000 or more. But, somewhere between that 50 to 100K mark is normally where that capacity issue starts happening.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And I think that's what I love, what you just brought up. I want to come back to that for a second when you said, you hit the capacity, because you're performing, and it's honestly, it's mind blowing to me how many businesses I meet and, women that I work with, when all the way to six figures, they literally have no strategy. They're just like doing everything. And it's just all like mind blowing how much work they're putting in, and it's working, but there is no strategy behind it. And that's why I think it's brilliant what you said, where you do reach that capacity, you do hit that wall where you can no longer do it by yourself. Yes. And in order to scale, you have to bring other people into the play. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, because they struggle to give up that control. They struggle with belief that they can actually do that. And they struggle with belief that, somebody can do it better than them, or give them the strategy they need. So I would assume you are probably facing some feedback and some pushback where, they're doubting that you can take this and make it into a scalable strategy. So how do you address that with your clients?
Yeah. So I'm going to answer this in perhaps an unexpected way.
Uh-huh.
So the first thing I would say is, you kind of, there's another fear perhaps that is missing because someone's already at capacity. The thought of doubling or tripling or 10 timesing their business is just like unfathomable.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, in terms of how I approach people, I don't always necessarily talk to them about scaling or doubling or tripling their business first up. My core, which helps people change their mindset, get a level of acceptance, is like, how do we work with, the $100,000? I'm just going to make round numbers, 10 clients, 100,000, I'm giving you $100,000, but that's taking you 16 hours a day to service that. Mm-hmm. So how could you stay at $100,000 with 10 clients but only work 8 hours a day, for example, or 4 hours a day? So
sign me up.
Right, exactly. I mean, first we address that capacity issue, because until we address that and until you can prove to people, it's like, I could do this work in half the amount of time if I, did a little bit of automation, or I had a small, some help on various things. Only then, when you've freed them up and they've got a bit of space, does it make sense to start putting in the strategy for let's double or triple your business?
I love that. I love that. Oh, I got goosebumps for this. Ladies, again, make sure you go and re-listen to this part. This part is gold, because I cannot tell you enough how many women I see, and I'm sure men too. This is like that threshold. This is where, like Natasha said, you hit a wall. You sit there like hoarding everything because you're so scared to give it up, because you can't possibly, like she said, fathom adding one more task, because that's it. You're there. And so I love the fact that you address that piece first, because to me, it's much more important than addressing the doubling and tripling and scaling. Because it's like you said, once they can breathe, once they have that belief that you create for them, that you can do it on less time if you automate and if you delegate, then you can actually scale your business. I absolutely love this. This is crucial. Like I said, ladies, go back, re-listen to this. Just sit with this, because I promise you, it doesn't even sink in. It didn't sink in for me. And I'm being very honest. It didn't sink in for me. I had the biggest issue with letting go of that control. When I brought my first coach on board with my first business, I almost killed my business because I stalled it for about a year because I was so scared to add anything else. I couldn't possibly stomach anything else. So most of the time we don't see it that way. That's why, like I said, I love that Natasha just brought it up. So make sure you listen and you really sit with that concept, because it's so big. I love that. So, and that's another thing I want to come back to. Scaling is great, right? But it is possible, and I'm sure you've seen it with your clients, where the initial idea or the initial setup or the initial way they're running things is just not scalable. And you have to give them some changes and suggestions and strategies. So how do you get them through that hurdle?
I love a tool called the Business Model Canvas. And if people want to check that out, it's by Alexander Osterwalder, Yves Pigneur. It's a really great visual tool. And again, it comes back to this whole, everything we've talked about sort of has a common thread. When you're doing everything yourself, when you haven't written down processes and procedures, when you haven't really delved into your business to see what's working, what's not working, what's the most profitable, what's just like a lot of time and not making a profit, it's really hard to adjust. But what I love about this tool is it really helps us to run different scenarios of how your business would run and operate, doing different things. And sometimes, most times I find people just haven't ever thought about it, right? They haven't thought about, well, is this model I'm doing scalable or not? They simply haven't thought about it. So this is a great tool to help start that conversation for them to look at different ways that they could use it, and to really, most people, and I'm going to talk about a coaching business for a moment, even though some of my clients do, more creative things, but, coaching is a very easy example where, most people will start off as one-on-one. It's very easy to turn that to a group program. You already have all of the assets. You already have all of the information. Now it's just bundling that up. So you can basically, it's the concept of leverage. You can serve 5 people with the same 1 hour of time. So that concept of leverage really works anywhere, so if you're a wedding planner, how could you deliver one service to multiple clients? Well, maybe you have like a standard set of designs that you use. So you don't have 20 or 30 different designs. You just have 3 different designs that people can choose from. So they're the sorts of things, that leverage point that we will look at.
Yeah, no, I love it. And you have your own business blueprint that you give away and you use with your clients. Can you talk a little bit more about it? Why is it such a valuable tool?
Yeah, so the tool is the Simple Business Method and the Simple Business Blueprint. So it goes into more detail about that self, business, and team. Why I think this is so useful is because, as I said, most business models and coaching plans are very linear. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your business or what stage you're at, you have to go through these 5 steps. It's hard to jump in. The model that I've created is, if you will, a more circular model. So you can kind of jump in at any point, and really, it's what I was talking about before. You can really cherry pick the items that are important for you right now. And it just makes it easy. I love the concept of customizable, whether I'm one-on-one or whether I'm doing group. Cookie cutter solutions are not the answer, So really that's the beauty of this tool. It shows you kind of everything that you need to think about for business. It shows it in a very simple way, and it allows you to create your customized plan, which will fit and be more comfortable for you to work and implement.
Love it. I love it. And Natasha, where can they find that tool? And we'll put that, we have a link. We're going to put that into show notes, but where can they find the tool and you?
Yeah, so they can find that tool in 2 places, but my website is inspireanddrive.com, and the Simple Business Blueprint is there and downloadable. Another place where I hang out a lot is on Instagram, and there's a link in my bio on Instagram to the blueprint. And on Instagram, I'm also at Inspire and Drive. So it's easy to find me. Yes.
Yeah, I love Inspire and Drive. That's awesome. And before I let you go, it's been honestly so much value. Like I said, ladies, you have to take notes and re-listen to some of these things. Definitely check out the blueprint. I always ask the same question for everybody before you leave us. If there is a boss babe out there who is maybe in corporate right now and she's listening to you answering these questions and she's like, you know what? I wish I could take that leap and be just like Natasha. What would be one advice you would give her?
Yeah. Well, firstly, hi. It's a tough time. So I feel you. I think the number one thing that you could do right now, it's a tricky question. I think the number one thing I would recommend you do is find a way to get 1 more hour of time back a day. Start with 1 more hour of time back a day. What's one thing you could shift that would give you 1 more hour of time back. And it could be a really simple automated calendar tool. It could be something as simple as writing up a template for an email that you send up regularly, writing it out, and so you can cut and paste it. So just give yourself that tiny challenge. How could I save 1 hour a day? And just start finding small ways to gain back time. I think that's a really valuable step to help you on that, setting up the stage for the scaling and the bigger transformation.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. 1 hour a day. And I'm telling you, ladies, this is so crucial, because even though it seems like such a small step, doing that consistently is going to give you so much extra time. If you actually are laser focused in that 1 hour, you can do so many things. Mm-hmm. Natasha, thank you so much. Honestly, love the tools. So hands-on, so real. Loved everything about it. Thank you for giving us your time and wisdom today.
Thank you so much for having me, Alenka. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to I Start First podcast. If you loved it as much as I did, feel free to tag us on Instagram at IStartFirst_. Share it with your besties, and if you feel so compelled, give us that 5-star review on iTunes. Till next time, and like always, kick ass and sparkle up.